This podcast is a production of Digital and Creative Media Works. To help support us, head to dcm.works to find links to our other show notes, Patreon, and merch. Hey guys, welcome back to the Alpha Writers Podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David, DCM, creative director, writer, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben.
Hello.
And special guest Laura.
Hello.
You can see her there if you're watching the video podcast. She has her own camera now.
Yeah, this editing's gonna be weird because I'm used to always being on frame, but I can just do things and you can be looking at Laura.
And I have
totally.
Ben
Yeah.
could just be flipping your wall off and you wouldn't even know about it.
No.
Except I would
fantastic.
definitely zoom in on that because I'm a malicious editor.
Yeah,
if
you
ever
would do
there's
that,
been one.
actually.
I should not give you that kind of power.
That is correct. But speaking of power, this week, not a good segue. I'm very sorry.
atrocious.
It's quite late. I'm bringing up my Dropbox paper for those of you watching at home because I hadn't brought it up before. Because this week we are talking about the narrative of Justice League.
What's the narrative today? Is it?
Well, I picked narrative because there wasn't one. That was my main.
Got
it. Well, I
Go
wanted to
on.
talk about
Guys.
actually what this film was, because okay, so I didn't say anything on the car or when we were waiting for pizza or in the
No, which
cinema,
is usually indicative of the film being hot garbage.
or like you know that there's something cooking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There's one
David's
specific
thinking real
thing.
hard.
There's some cogs ticking over. So why don't you guys give me like a quick rundown of what you thought generally? Because I think we all went, it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was
It
okay.
was fine.
When I was on the afterwards, I was thinking, like, is it just because, like, how does this compare to BVS? Why did I hate BVS so much, and why do I not hate this one so much? And I don't know.
The answer is there's not really sad Henry Cavill in it the whole time.
yeah. I think
He's in it a bit, and it's just like.
Well, one of the biggest mistakes of BVS, I thought, was obviously, like you look at like substance versus character, and one of the things that BVS lacked was character and substance. They just focused on like it was a Snyder film to its core. It was like imagery and hero porn. There was no like, substance to
I
it.
think
Whereas this was very much you could tell Whedon was trying to knead it into something useful.
this film has an understandable premise like from the start. Like you're not.
you never
with BVS,
you never
you're not like, oh, like where is this film gonna end up? Like,
and a lot of
what
BVS,
is-
you're like, why are they fighting? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What's like,
Yeah.
is he crazy? Whereas this was like, this bad guy's coming. We've got to assemble a team to stop them. It's not a complicated premise.
Yeah. So it was a lot
Yeah.
easier to just kind of like.
Actually, like the premise is pretty much exactly the Justice League New 52 comics. Like that's pretty much exactly.
Actually,
how
yeah,
it
it's
starts.
based on the
Um,
that film. They made a film out of that sequence, right? The Justice League sequence with Darkseid.
right. Yeah. So it's still Darkseid, but in this film they've I forget what his.
It's
fucking
Steppenwolf.
alien's
It's his
called.
like in this he was one of his like apostles, but I think in this he's his grandson or his uncle or his step.
But I mean, obviously,
nephew.
Superman isn't dead in the
Yes.
in the New 52. But what actually happens in that one, it's really cool because they're whatever the fuck the enemy.
Parademons.
Yeah, those guys. Because they're dragging people off into their alternate
Right.
dimension.
Oh, and doesn't Batman
and-
dress up as a normal dude?
Yeah, so Superman gets taken by the parademons, and then Batman takes off his little cape and
Yes.
he acts like he's a normal.
He puts on a
human being and he
beanie.
gets-
That's his disguise.
yes, and he gets taken by the parad.
So I think conceptually it's a really good idea to try and force a redemption onto Batman to make him like relatable or interesting or dynamic in any way.
I thought the execution was weird.
It was just this whole film was so all over the place, and you can tell it was two directors. That's like there were scenes
Yeah.
also. Okay, actually, before we get into all of
Well,
that,
you can.
we got to talk about the mustache. We got to talk about the mustache.
Sorry,
What the
are we
lack of?
talking about?
You mean the lack of?
So, do you not know about Henry Cavill's mustache in the reshoots?
No.
In the reshoots of this film, Superman had a mustache because he's playing the villain in the next Mission Impossible film. And Paramount told DC and Warner Brothers, you can't shave it off for reshoots. So they spent some $10 million on CG to remove his mustache in
What?
post.
Holy
Wait, so
shit.
what scenes? Because I couldn't.
You
notice.
couldn't tell?
I wasn't paying attention.
There was
I wasn't
one-
looking
I
for
wasn't
it.
paying attention.
Okay, so there was one
specifically to Superman's upper lip.
I was the whole film. There was one shot in the and I don't know if this was just like a bad shot or if it was actually the mustache, but they're in the field and it's a
Right.
close up of Superman. And he says something weird. It's really close up, and his lip looks weird. Like it's
Oh,
like too
okay.
close up. It's like rubbery.
I mean, he did seem a bit wooden in some of those scenes. Just
I-
with
well,
his lips movement.
I thought-
That's probably it.
Probably part of that. But also, I think it played well into the character they were creating. Because what I liked, one of the best bits of that film was when he came back, and I was like, this dude might just murder fools.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
best.
That
part
was
of the
like the
film.
best. I was like, oh, they realize he's an interesting character because he's so fucking powerful. And then they went, oh, this is the Superman that should have been in the rest of the goddamn films.
Yeah.
A dude who has like this incredible power. He's threatening.
You
Give us
don't-
that in
You
BVS.
don't
What are you
fucking
doing?
Make him angry. That's for
Holy shitballs. If you
The-
put that Superman in BVS and then you have Batman go, gang, we gotta just like knock this guy off the block. He's like gonna do something dangerous. Everyone's gonna rally behind him. It's gonna make sense. Then in this film, you have them both redeemed by, settling their differences and coming together. Like, it's frustrating to me that they had to kill Superman, which for no reason. I didn't have to. They
They
chose to.
brought him back immediately, and it was like,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty like. "Meh."
Well, they brought him back to life immediately, but he wasn't Superman until the end, which
How
I
long
thought.
was he? How long was he dead for?
I think a few months or a year.
Oh, because his body was very much in pristine condition.
Well, he's a
Probably
Kryptonian.
'cause he's
He
a
was
Kryptonian.
Yeah, he
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
dead.
That's
I
what
was
I put it
expecting
down
just
to.
decay.
I wanted
No,
a beard.
He's a fucking Kryptonian.
You wanted a
and
beard?
He wasn't
Yeah.
proper dead anyway.
I wanted
I wanted him to pop out naked.
Superman
He popped
mullet.
out with
Well,
pants.
they put him
I
in a
was like-
suit. That's what they do with dead people,
There-
dog.
there's
Yeah, but
a-
when he
there's a-
like blew up, he was.
There's a
just
great
still wearing
story
pants.
where
Yeah.
Superman dies and he comes back and he's got a mullet.
Death of Superman.
I-
Black
yeah.
suit
I
Superman,
do
and a
like that.
mullet Superman.
Yeah.
Didn't see it. Disappointed. Someone
0 out of
fucking
10.
phone up Zack Snyder, phone up Joss Whedon, and say you had the
Goddamn mullet
opportunity.
man, it would have been great.
There was actually Mr. Sunday Movie started #mullet for Superman on Twitter and it trended. But no, so I guess from a narrative perspective, the reason I wanted to talk about it is the narrative in this was very simple, which isn't a bad thing. It's a superhero
Yeah.
film. It's bombastic. It's bright. And you can tell that. I think it's pretty obvious in a lot of sequences. You can tell that Whedon's come in later and gone, ugh, this is really drab.
Like,
What do
hang
we
on,
do?"
hang on. We need to destroy a few cities.
Yeah.
Like,
We're gonna knock down some buildings. We're gonna have Ezra
gotta-
Miller do some.
you gotta
goofs.
have some random civilian side characters. Like, trust me on this.
That was
one.
kind of a nice
Yeah, I mean,
grounding, maybe.
I mean,
given
was-
all the other random shit going on, it was a little bit disjointed.
Yeah,
But,
true.
it was a bit arbitrary. Just like,
But isn't that the point of Super? I don't want to be that guy, but like
I think
one of the biggest mistakes that Avengers made in Age of Ultron is Whedon went, well, superheroes need to save everyone, and that's kind of like that's not like they can't, and they
Right.
kind of retcon that with Civil War, where they were like, okay, Sokovia Accords, we got these problems. One of the things that's nice about having Superman and the Flash on your team is you can
just
save
save
everyone.
Right.
yeah.
Because you've got two like incredibly quick people who are very good at their jobs,
Mm.
and it was like, oh yeah, they give a shit about a single family in a ute and a whole block of people.
Well,
It was a fun scene, I thought, to play
Yeah.
off versus the fucking dour, sad, boring Superman in the previous film. This guy is fun. He's powerful. He's punchy. He gives a
He's
shit.
fucking
he's-
cocky. It's great.
Why didn't
he's so OP.
they could have started legitimately? They probably could have started the franchise with this film if they wanted to, because you know who Superman from the first shot of the film. You know who Superman is.
yeah,
He's a guy who inspires people, which is something he never was in the previous one. They
could've-
spent so much fucking pedal work fixing that.
Yeah. Well, it's like if they started off the franchise with this film, do they keep Superman dead? Well, do they have Superman being dead at the start?
You could if you wanted to.
Because if yes, then it's like, why is he dead?
But
Without
that's-
BVS.
Isn't that an interesting thing to find out through the course of discovering this universe? Like,
They wouldn't do that.
No,
This
well,
is a-
there's no nuance. What I'm saying is, it
Yeah.
would be nice to have mystery for once in a fucking while in a superhero film. And if you've
That's
never
not gonna
seen,
happen.
but
Well, no,
I,
the mystery is just like, oh look, that's the Green Lantern. Oh, when we'll see him
I will say
again.
this though: if they hadn't done the logos in the previous film, you know how they did like
Yeah,
with Lex
the
Luthor, he
logos,
looked at the in the computer
Yeah.
clips. If they'd done that,
He got his
they would have
graphic
been like
designer to whip some up.
Yeah. Doing that sequence on like Themyscira in the past with like, you got the Green Lantern, you got Zeus, Shazam, all those characters. I thought it was
Yeah.
like, that was a pretty cool way to like hint at those characters.
That was cool, yeah.
Green Lantern looked fucking dope.
Oh, that
But they
was
look
shit.
green mist and
was,
shit.
I was wondering who the lightning guy was. Yeah, that was Shazam,
Yeah, it's
right?
Zeus. Zeus who then imbues his power to Shazam.
Yeah, I do know about who Shazam
very
is.
good.
I just forgot.
Yeah,
I
that
think
that
It's
would
extremely
be him.
cool.
having the the one thing that I was like wanting was in that that flashback scene specifically. I was like, throughout the whole thing, I was like, man, Thor Ragnarok did this better. Thor Ragnarok did
the whole time I was like, I missed Thor Ragnarok.
I was like, the Thor Ragnarok flashback is so much
Could
better.
you imagine how salty the Warner Brothers film
When
studio when they saw Ragnarok and they went,
like,
oh guys,
no.
we fucked up.
It's so much better.
Here's what I'll say. You know what they didn't do? And as much as I love the Immigrant Song and I love Marvel doing, Run the Jewels and I love all that,
Yeah.
there was not a lot of like dumb, corny hip hop or pop songs.
A little bit with Aquaman, just a
To be
smidge.
fair, when you put Jason Momoa shirtless in like an oncoming wave, that deserves its rap. The rap.
Yeah.
Because that dude is the ballest motherfucker that ever did step on this
he
planet.
don't give a fuck.
He's
really.
so cool.
He's my least favorite out of all the characters, but I don't hate him.
Yeah, that's the point of
Yeah.
him, right? He's like the weird. You know what? Okay.
He's Captain Boomerang, but he doesn't suck.
He had one like cool moment showing off his powers, and that was holding back the water.
Which he
Yeah.
did a pretty shit job of.
And then the rest of it, he
Yeah.
was just like a regular, like
was
normal
just a
super.
dude
He
with
was
a
just a
trident.
dude with a trident who punches people.
Who could
jump real good.
He could just jump real. Yeah,
He
jump real
did
good,
surf that fucking parademon down the side of a building,
That was sick.
that was
which
pretty
I was
That
pretty horny for.
I was like,
Yeah.
whew.
I'm
can get behind
gonna
that.
try and order these like thoughts that I have in my head into a rant, and then I'm gonna see if I can deliver it in a way that makes any
Okay.
sense, as is customary in this
do you
show.
need time
Alright.
for that?
Well, I've been gestating on it since we saw the film. It's about Superman, and it's
Okay.
about Batman, and it's about this film, and about how I think that what they did was something that wasn't brave at all, but almost could have been actually interesting. Because what you've got is a film where you've got Batman looking for redemption. Bruce Wayne is seeking to atone for his sins of the past. He lets Superman die. Well, he feels like he lets Superman die. He
He's a
feels
sad
boy. Responsible. Yeah,
Well, he
he's-
was the one who tried to fucking kill Superman.
Exactly. So he feels like he's played a part in that, which he definitely did.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
He definitely did. But what's interesting then is you have, okay, well, here's this guy who for the last however long, we assume it's been like a year, maybe, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But however long has been like really trying to make up for it. Like he's not killing people anymore. He's investigating these parademons.
He's just using them as bait.
He's just using them as bait for demons.
Yeah.
It's all kosher, but he's genuinely trying to atone, it seems. And that's like an interesting point to pick up a Batman story at, because that's often when he's at his weakest. I think the biggest failure of this film was not.
You don't really see it.
Yeah, I wanted to see that more. Like, in the middle of an
You know-
investigation, see him like crack in some. Like, I know that it's like hard to do because he's kind of leading them in place of Superman, but I would have liked to see him be a bad leader. Like, he's a great tactician, but he's not a good leader. And that, you see that with the scene in the Batmobile where he's like, this wasn't the plan. And they go, and, Alfred's like, no, but this is the team. That makes sense because the team are like, okay, this plan's bad. Like, this plan's fine, but we're a team. Whereas
Yeah.
if Superman was in charge, it'd go differently. But I think the thing they missed was there was this real opportunity to have Batman flagging as a leader. And then when Superman arrives, like, it feels like a Superman moment. Like, that to me is like in comic books when people when people try and tell you why they love Superman, it's because of those fucking moments when a character says something like, it's like that scene in fucking Batman, The Dark Knight, where the Joker's in the penthouse and he's got everyone, and he's got the knife to the person. He's like, "You got a big mouth on you," or whatever. You're a buck and bite, and Batman goes, "You're gonna love me," and then he comes in and he beats the shit out of him. Like, it felt like that moment. And Superman turns up because Steppenwolf says something, and Superman goes, "I'm all for this and also justice," and he comes in and he beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And I had like a comic book childhood flashback. Like,
mean,
I was
we
12
knew
again.
That moment was coming.
Yeah, but
That's
it was-
why-
but
that's-
that's like the build up to it. They
That's why I
didn't,
went to the bathroom during the
Yeah.
the start of the fight scene. I was just like,
They
I just
didn't-
need to be back for the Superman reveal.
they didn't spend their juice too early. They were
Yeah.
like, we gotta let them know it's, and they teased us so many times with that family. They were like, Superman's gonna save that family. Superman's gonna save that family, and it's the Flash, which is kind of a nice
Flash.
twist.
But also
Yeah.
Superman saves
But
her.
fuck, man, like that moment when he came back in, I was like, oh, someone at DC and Warner Brothers actually gets it. Like, this is the Superman that people read in comic books, he's like the hero. And it's so refreshing. And I talked about this a bit last week in Stranger Things, but it's refreshing to me when a film like this in the comic book genre or the Netflix, whatever it is, does an earnest like interpretation of a character. And I know that the previous Superman was like the cynical, bummy, sad boy.
Yeah.
But this guy comes back and he's like a symbol of hope, and he comes in and he laughs, he smiled. We fucking saw Henry Cavill smile as Superman.
Yeah.
It's
And I
incredible.
almost shed a tear. I was like, oh, he can act. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I mean, I think the thing with Superman is that he actually, like, for this, like, incarnation of the character, he actually has to care about every single human life, and that's why he goes and he saves people along with the Flash and stuff.
Right, but he had to die for that to happen. That's my biggest problem with this franchise so far, is they were like, we made a dour, relatable, uninteresting Superman. We've got to kill him to actually make him be
Well,
able to have empathy.
Decent foresight then.
In hindsight,
fair,
like now that we're here, I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
like it's good. It's probably good that they killed him.
Not worth ruining a film for.
Oh, I
Actually.
mean, if I think overall, if they're able to go from BVS like via Wonder Woman, because like this is like this has a lot of traits of sort of why Wonder Woman was so good, because it was so sincere and so just like down to earth, and it was just like, here's a really cool hero who does hero stuff.
Right.
And there's no, we don't
Do you
beat around the bush. We don't, you know.
Do you think that's kind of the difference between the Marvel heroes and the DC heroes?
It's definitely the direction they should go. And
It's certainly what they should be looking to do, because
it's
Marvel's
definitely what
lost
the track they're on currently. Because yeah, Marvel's cornered the market on quippy.
Everyone is-
one-liner.
everyone
Literally
is Tony
everyone
Stark.
in Marvel, is
Yeah.
now Tony Stark.
Everyone's Tony Stark.
Like even the side characters, like everyone is.
Which
Tony
is
Stark.
fun, but what I want is, and actually, that's a really good point. This did feel different.
Yeah, it had the same narrative. Like, it was the same story. It was just weird alien bad guy comes in, threatens the Earth. They
Yeah.
save it. Things happen. Everyone's
But
fine.
like literally, like nobody, like probably there were some people that got hurt, but like with the big fight, it's like no, they save everybody.
Well, what's interesting? Well, sort of. Everyone was dead by the time they got there.
Well, yeah, the people really
Which-
close would have been,
And
but
that's
like
that's something. Well, but that's something to me that DC always do well, is they don't do that thing where they go and everyone's fine. They're like, nah, it was
yeah,
bad,
people
gang.
died,
Like, it
but,
was
like-
bad, but we need the Justice League. Like, that's always the thing. They're like, things went south, but boy howdy, do we need a Superman? You know,
Yeah.
and that to me opens the gateway for these other heroes that they are like. You can tell they're chomping at the bit to introduce. You got your Green Lantern, you got your Shazam, you got all these other characters in the silo. Because maybe with more people on the team, you could save more. you know?
right.
And that's kind of fun. Like, it just feels like they had ambition.
And the fact that they're making the headquarters now, yeah.
Yeah, I did listen. That got me a little bit hot under the collar. I
It
was
was
like,
oh, the headquarters, yay!
they're doing the long table, guys. Like you know how in Marvel they're like, here's the Infinity Gauntlet in the like third film, and everyone
Yeah.
like is like, oh my god. I was like that when they were like, oh my god, they're doing the fucking table. It's
Right,
gonna be in
yeah.
space soon.
Oh, it's
like
gonna
I had
be
that
so
moment.
fucking good. Yeah, they have like a space station.
It's
don't
gonna
they?
be fucking in space
Oh
soon.
my god.
Oh
Yeah.
god, yeah. But I think what's cool though, from like particularly from like a narrative structure perspective, and this might just be like the 12-year-old in me talking, because it's a superhero film, right? Like the thing about superhero as a genre is it's actually like a high concept genre. You can have subgenres, you can have like
Yeah.
thrillers, you can have horror, you can have action, you can have all of these different things. What they did is they went, okay,
You
well,
have High School Musical sequels.
High School Musical sequels, Spider-Man: Homecoming. You can have like Doctor Strange, which is like a a maturation plot.
LCD trip, yeah.
Yeah, like
LCD trip.
LCD sound system trip.
Yeah.
Trip over the cable.
LSD
Yeah.
trip is what I meant to say.
I knew what you meant, but I kind of lent into it.
Liquid crystal. This, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Liquid, yeah.
Alright, guys.
But sorry, that just
Thanks,
got up with me.
Laura.
What point was I even making?
I don't know.
You were talking about different kinds of superhero films.
Oh, sure. So one of the things that a lot of, and I feel like this might just because Marvel's made a ton of them, is they tend to play out the same. It's like, here's an origin story,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they overcome the thing, and then they're good, and everyone's fine. This, I felt like, as much as it was like a generic superhero film based on like a generic superhero comic, at least it felt like that was what they wanted to do. Like, they weren't like pretending it was something else. They weren't like, this is they're saving the world, but really they're becoming friends. It was like, no. This is like,
Oh, I'm actually
superheroes.
so fucking glad that there weren't any like moments undercut by like serious moments undercut by dumb fucking jokes, because I'm so sick of that.
Yeah, there were so many moments where they could have done dumb jokes.
And you could
like,
see just-
during action scenes. There
Yeah.
were moments where like all they had to do was cut away or do like a voice line or do something. There were so many moments where I was just like, oh, they're gonna do something dumb, and they didn't. And I was like,
because they do it in
okay.
Marvel all the fucking time, and it's like in some films you're like, yeah, I guess. But like, could you have held on the serious bit a bit
the
longer?
The jokes they do put in are like timed well. So
Right.
like how did you get the house from the bank? It's like I bought the bank. Like that's
Yeah,
funny.
That's legit.
And that's well timed.
Yeah.
Like that's not
that and the lasso of truth joke.
That was a classic like.
that was like a classic Joss Whedon.
I could have seen Joss Whedon. He walked onto set and he was like, okay, here's the thing.
Here's the joke.
We're all sitting around. I bet you it's like we're all sitting around in Serenity's hangar, and everyone's after a job, and we're gonna do like a little joke, about to go into like a bad situation,
Well-
and it's gonna be the lasso of truth, and it's gonna be good, and it's gonna be human, and that was what he brought to the table. I think.
Well, that wasn't like bad because it wasn't like a serious moment turned goofy. It started goofy because
he did a good job of that throughout,
because
where
Aquaman is a goofy boy.
because he's a weird, strange
He's
guy.
the weirdest character
Right?
in the entire
He
He's
doesn't
film.
like
yeah.
any of them. He'll just say stuff.
Which is so good. And, I don't want to be that guy, but, like, I thought he was a good addition. Jason Momoa, by the way, fantastic actor. I feel like
he's really good.
everyone in this really pulled their weight. Jeremy Irons especially. He's like
Oh,
a
I love me
discount.
some Jeremy
He's a
Irons.
discount fucking Michael Caine if we've ever found one. Like, he's great. Like, everyone in this, I felt like, did a decent acting job.
Was Cyborg dubbed in this film? Like, because
No, the
I
idea
don't
is that his
think
voice...
so.
Well, the idea is that his voice is augmented.
his voice is dubbed.
Well,
Well, there were like points where it was human, and there were points where it
yeah,
was like
it's supposed to
more like
fluctuate.
No, even just his regular speaking.
Oh, like none of it's like... I don't know.
Because he like I know in shooting he's just wearing a fucking green gimp suit
It's
essentially.
very good. Yeah.
Like that,
Right.
like everyone's in their costumes. He's just
Oh.
wearing a green screen.
oh,
Like he'd have
on
to be
that-
dubbed.
On that, how fake did the villain look?
What, Steppenwolf?
Yeah,
I thought
he
like,
was-
his
he
everything except his like this bit of his face looked fake.
He was a
Everything
he was
except
just
that.
he was a discount.
he looked so fake. I like yeah.
I was so like I didn't care about him at all, but I don't think he was the main focus of the film.
He was the impetus
no.
of the gang to get together.
yeah, like that's why I
It
liked
was like,
the
like he's the MacGuffin that they have to do.
yeah, he was almost the MacGuffin. Like he wasn't the villain.
Yeah.
The boxes of the MacGuffin, but he was like the fourth MacGuffin.
The villain
Yeah.
was their cohesion. Like the villain, like
Well,
and
the,
that and that was
the villain was their cohesion in the face of this looming evil.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way,
Very
is
cool.
kind of what Darkseid does. But like that, he was. This is a fucking relief. He wasn't just an evil version of the main guy in a different colored costume. Which is
Yeah.
what every fucking superhero film does.
I
It's
mean,
Iron Man, but he's
yeah.
great. It's
they did name drop Darkseid. They did tease him a bit.
yeah, which I'm
Yeah.
kind of hungry for, but I don't
Oh,
think they're
yeah.
gonna do it very well because he's kind of one of the least interesting villains. Only because the best parts of the DC universe are when it's very like personal. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, Superman's got to deal with this like, which is weird because they're superheroes. But some of the best stuff in DC is like Superman has to deal with the fact that like when he killed this god, he like obliterated this family member from his life and memory, and he's got to like
Yeah.
recover from that. Or it's like, Batman convinces a god to become a human, then he punches him in the face. Like those are the best parts of DC, and
Yeah.
I'm keen to see them kind of dig into that a bit more. And I just hope that when they go forward, they're gonna pick a director. And it's not Zack Snyder's fault. He had like a terrible tragedy that happened, and I totally sympathize with what happened to him with his family. I get it, but it sucks for DC because they really needed this to be a win, and I feel for them. Like he had a terrible he had to step away, and I get they brought in Joss Whedon, and he brought humanity, he brought jokes, but
I come with jokes, jokes and laughs.
well,
Look at
literally,
me, I'm Joss
like,
Whedon.
could you imagine being in DC's position where they're shooting? Apparently, the whole way through shooting, everyone was like, "This is going to be amazing." Like Snyder,
Yeah.
this was like going to be his like magnum opus of superhero films.
Right.
And then in the middle of it, this terrible thing happens. He's like, I just have to. I can't be here. Like, I literally can't do this. And they went, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, it's an awful thing that's happened to you. We get it. And they literally, it feels like they reached for a life raft, and they were like, "Who's done superhero films?" And Joss Whedon was like sitting in the corner, being like, "Paint me like one of your French girls." And they were like, "Okay, we'll do it."
All right,
and he
Joss
went,
Whedon.
he
Oh,
went, "I'm
God.
gonna bring the jokes."
Bring the
But what they
jokes.
did, and this is why Firefly worked, is in the earnest moments, it knew when to be earnest. It didn't do that thing that I think Marvel tends to, which is, and you were talking about this before, which is like you get into a very serious situation where a character needs to be genuinely earnest and believe in something. And then they followed up with a quip.
And look at us, we're all just a bunch of idiots standing around.
Yeah, which, by the way, that could have been a really great scene.
It's the worst.
Could have been a really great scene if the music swelled in it.
If they just
stuck
stopped,
to
if
its
they just
guns.
Yeah.
like
It's
fight the
worst
urge to
example
make
of
a
it.
dumb fucking
Yeah.
joke because you undercut all of the.
Yeah.
I go back to that example every time because everyone's like, "Oh, Guardians are so quippy," and it's like it's just a bit too quippy.
That one scene is when it tips
Is
over.
when it goes over the edge.
If they hadn't done that, the rest of it would have been fine.
Oh yeah, the right, but like
Yeah, but it's
it's so
fuck,
indicative.
That's
yeah.
so weird. That's the tipping point, isn't it?
It's super indicative
Because
of-
all you needed was for them to stand up and the music to swell, and
and then it just
and then it just
cut to
stops.
the next
They're
scene.
like,
Just go to the next scene. But
nah,
make
we're gonna
Rocket say
point
something
out how
funny.
stupid it is that they're
Yeah.
all standing up. It's like no, but don't no.
yeah, it's
Yeah, even this film when they finished and they won the day and they're all and they had the poster shot where they're all just
The
like
fact
standing
that they're actually
and it's like the
so
slow-mo
earnest about
and it's
it.
just it just
yeah.
holds the shot.
got me
You're
horny,
like,
man. I was like,
Oh,
that's a nice
man.
shot.
like the closest thing they
Like-
came to was Flash getting his fist bumped. Like
It's
that was
been
that
so
was
long
the joke.
since superhero films have been sincere about anything.
Also,
Well, it's
can we
been-
talk about
how many months has it been since Wonder Woman? So it's like-
Well, yeah.
but in a way that
not on the
involves-
scale. Like we
Yeah.
haven't had like an Avengers film.
Can we talk really quickly about I mean, we mentioned it before, but like I thought that the Superman in this film like felt to me like a guy who could lead a team. He felt like a Superman who could be part of a thing greater. Like, you know, he immediately, like, you know, when they pull the boxes apart and it happens and then they're, like, lying there laughing, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, man. Like, I was like, oh, I felt so relieved. I was like, oh, yeah, the guys have done it. Like,
Yeah.
and I wasn't that engaged in the plot. Like, I was just sitting there, like, sort of, you know, with my brain half off, enjoying seeing these characters I grew up with on the big screen. And they did that, and I was like, yeah, man, like, we did it. Like, I was, like, genuinely with them. And that doesn't happen for a long minute in Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Spider-Man: Homecoming, I was delighted, but I never smiled in that kind of sympathetic way. And I thought that was a really nice way to be like, these superheroes, like, you know, they're actually a little bit relatable, and they're people too, and they inspire. And I felt that kind of that whatever that is that superheroes
Yeah.
trip in your body and in your like ape brain that says
Actually,
these people are
you know,
aspiring.
Come
you know?
to think of it, they never actually showed what ended up happening to the boxes in this film, which I think is really interesting, because if it were a Marvel film, they would have done the wrap up where it was like say with the Infinity Stones, with the Tesseract in the first Avengers film, where they're like, we're gonna show them taking the Tesseract away. And
Right, here's the end shot, so you know something's still gonna happen with this. You
Yeah.
know, like, or here's the shot where you're in the vaults of the
thing
Thor
is,
world.
These are probably
and-
just throwaway. Like they're probably never gonna come back
Yeah.
to them, and I'm
That's like-
okay with that.
Dog, that's the best part about,
I
like,
know.
DC don't give a shit. And that's... Okay,
they're not
Here's-
setting up for
here's
some
the
grand
three stones.
fucking like.
Well, I liked
yeah.
how it was like, oh, the 3 stones, and like 2 of them are immediately captured in the first 10
Instantly.
minutes. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, they,
that was
just
quick.
went, they were like, how dumb are Infinity Gems? Okay, let's talk really quickly about... How much of the reshoots did you guys notice?
I wasn't paying attention, so none. I mean,
A lot. Okay,
Look, I mean, it might have been
I wasn't
disjointed,
paying
but
attention
like,
to it.
I couldn't tell you which parts.
that's really good. The only reason I was looking is because I kind of knew the bit of the history of how it all
Yeah.
happened. I'm a bit more tuned into like the industry stuff, which sometimes
I'm
ruins stuff for me, but whatever. So one of the biggest things for me is Ben Affleck's level of shaving and the kind of wig he was wearing changed dramatically throughout. Based
isn't
on the
that why
reshoot
they
of
had the
shit.
shot where he's shaving? Just for
Well,
continuity.
yeah, so-
but that was weird. I was like, why is he shaving?
So throughout the previous film, he had like this sweet tiny bit of gray stubble, like a
Yeah.
tiny bit, and it's like classic Batman, and it like got me horny for fucking him as Batman.
Why
like,
do you keep talking about being horny?
Because
This
it's
kind of film.
DC, man. Like it's
a late
Batman.
night.
Batman's in it. It's late. Batman's in it. I love a good Batman. But no, like I thought that was really cool aesthetic. And one of the things I struggle with here is like they were like, oh, we gotta get Ben Affleck back. How are we gonna do this? And so they get him back, and they're like, ugh, that's a really hard level to maintain if you're not on set every day. So I guess just shave every day. And it just he looked kind of puffy when he did that. Because one of the cool things about Ben Affleck's face is when he has stubble, it offsets the shape of his head.
yeah.
And a lot of the sequences I noticed when they had the new wig on and the reshoots, I kept seeing it, and I was like annoyed at
I
myself.
thought you mentioned he looks puffy when he was being grabbed by Superman, and he's
Oh
like,
man, that was so funny.
Also, why did you
actually.
grab him by anything else except the face when you want to talk to him?
I know, he was grabbing him by like the mouth.
You should have
and he was
grabbed him by
just
the
like,
ears. One of the best parts in the comic, you grab him by the ears with like one hand because Superman's like real
Yeah.
strong. Boop.
Release
to him like
just,
that.
I don't know, the jaw.
Literally
the
any
neck.
part of the
Not
armor.
just like the face. It's just like
Dude's wearing full armor.
It's
Pick
just
him up
like
by any.
squidging his face up. I
Yeah.
thought that was so dumb.
That felt unnecessary.
Yeah.
That felt like a very Zack Snyder moment where he was like, he'll pick him up by the face.
Face.
Because it'll be a very good long shot. And everyone
Yeah.
went, I guess.
Like sure.
No, I don't know, man. Like, this to me is a film that took these dissonant, I don't know how they did it. I didn't think it was possible. They took all these dissonant elements that they kind of smudged into a universe and they went, okay, let's make a vaguely coherent film that is okay. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's crazy impressive. Like, to come back from BVS to this,
Yeah.
Honestly,
shit, that's good.
I was just here for Wonder Woman, and I think probably a lot of people were just here for Wonder Woman.
Did you think that Gal Gadot put in, like, as good of a performance as in Wonder Woman?
Good
I mean, because she had less.
what?
Well, she had less to.
Godot.
It's pronounced Godot, apparently.
Really?
I disagree.
She says it as Godot. She's a big thing on it on Jimmy
really
Kimmel.
annoying.
Gal
I say-
Gadot sounds way cooler though.
I say Godot partly because
It's I've heard
alright,
yeah,
various
alright,
reasons.
yeah.
but the problem is she's such a funny person. I don't like. No one knows if she was kidding on Jimmy Kimmel, so it's hard to. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I
No,
thought
but-
Barry Allen was.
Ezra Miller
Yeah, no,
really
actually, The
showed
Flash-
up.
He was
He's really
basically
good.
just a DC fan
He was everyone
in
that
this
was.
Oh, it
film.
was
He was
so
he was just a
good.
DC fan.
I was a big fan of his character.
Yeah,
in this
I thought
film,
he was good.
actually.
They did good setup for him.
I liked his sort of coming of age arc where Batman's just like, just rescue one, then you'll know what to do. And you're like you know what's gonna happen, but like when it happens, you're like, yeah,
It's even better that Batman didn't tell him.
yeah. He's
That-
just
like,
like, just
ah,
catch
it's
one,
so
then you'll
good.
know what to do. And he
Because-
gets one, and then you see it, and like he
And
does
he's
a
like-
really
moment where
good
he just,
job
like,
of
goes,
acting.
"Oh."
Where
He's
he's
just
just like,
oh, I gotta
oh.
save the rest of them now.
It's-
Okay.
Because it's the
Man.
kind of thing where you know it's like, oh, he's gonna save one, he's gonna realize how easy
And
it is.
because
and then save all of them.
that's the kind of leader that Batman is. He's not the guy at the front in the cape, shining at the front with like
He's
the
dude
face.
that just like subtly suggests you something. And
Yeah, because he also
then,
knows how
like,
to
in the
kill
end,
everyone
it's like,
on the team.
it's like your own idea, but like,
Oh my god,
Yeah.
it's such good
Oh,
characterization of both of them. Like that moment, I'm like, oh, someone writing on this film gets it. There was a few moments in that, like, and it speaks to how bad the previous film was. That's surprising. But I was like, oh, that's actually really like smooth and subtle. Like,
Yeah.
that's not something that you would think a studio with like 12 writers would come up with, but it is, and they did. And I don't know,
God,
it's.
the teamwork in the fight scenes as well, though.
Yeah. Also, can we talk real quick about how fucking badass Wonder Woman is in this film? Fighting off Steppenwolf
Yes.
a bunch by herself,
Oh, she's
Yes.
just
while fucking Arthur Curry's getting his ass beat around the fucking walls. She's just tanking him 1-on-1.
She's oh man.
Yeah, I just
Big
thought they did some really good choreography with particularly when they're in that kind of underground silo on the bridge, and she's sort of fighting him 1-on-1 across the bridge, like keeping him to
Yeah.
fighting him off. That was a single shot, which I thought was like a bit refreshing.
most of Batman's fight choreography was kind of shit.
Well, it's like what
Well,
do you
like,
have him do, you know?
Yeah, like Batman's opening sequence
Yeah,
where he was
Batman
fighting that
didn't-
guy on the roof. I was like, man, you didn't show any of punch. You didn't show a single punch.
I
He
think
didn't do a lot in this film. He did a lot of like
But,
being in like
yeah,
vehicles.
it was
I
made up by Wonder Woman.
I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like what they're doing is they're trying to make Ben Affleck feel older than he is, so in the next film they can be like, Batman's retiring, he's a new
well,
Batman,
he
bye.
did say stuff about.
He did
like,
mention that
yeah,
he
they
alluded
did talk about
to
it
in
the film.
That's
him being like older.
That's Batman always, every time, no matter how old he is. He's always like, I'm too old for this. Even when he's like 22 and being
Yeah.
Batman, he's like, I'm too old for this.
too old for this shit.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah,
I'm too
They were
old for this
also
shit.
like
it was really
sort
good.
of.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they're gonna do a romantic thing with Wonder Woman?
I think
Nah,
I think
they
they're doing
need
a good job of seeding the complications that will create, but I don't think they're gonna like pursue.
Well,
'Cause-
isn't the primary one Wonder Woman and Superman?
That
Depends. That depends if you're
A
on
lot
New
of the
52
time-
or in the good books.
Yeah. So yeah, New 52
Um,
was Superman, Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
but like.
Rebirth
But
is better.
Lois Lane exists in
Yeah.
this.
I guess given that she
universe,
exists,
so-
yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
like
Rebirth
that,
is
but-
better where it's like there's a weird tangent between Superman and Wonder
I
Woman.
did like
Batman
that.
and Wonder Woman.
I'd
would
like
be
the sort of bait and switch of the big guns.
that
just
was
being
really
lost.
clever. It was
Yeah.
just
That was
really
literally
smart.
that was
Yeah, it
smart.
was
I was
good.
like, oh no, it's gonna be more fucking giant kryptonite weaponry. Ugh,
That
green
was
shit.
that was smart
Yeah.
and then
until
it was like big guns, and she walks out. I was
smart
like,
until
oh,
she
that's
said Clark in front of a cop. She said Clark in front of a cop
She
to
totally
Superman, and I was
did.
like,
Ah.
huh? Like I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like I was like, huh? What's the plan?
Let's
Yeah.
just
I
assume the
mean-
cop just
But
has,
I
like,
guess Clark is
PTSD and
already-
forgets.
Clark is still dead. Like is Clark? That's what I want to fight. Is Clark Kent still dead?
Oh, wait
Because
a
one of the
minute.
cool-
Clark Kent comes back at the same time.
Wait,
that
wait.
Superman
No,
does.
are they doing? Oh,
Oh,
fuck! They're doing.
no.
No, they're doing Alien Color. Oh, they could. They have the opportunity. They won't.
To
But
do
they
what?
could. Well, one of the best parts of Superman is when Death of Superman. There's an alternate spin on it where Superman comes back, but Clark Kent stays dead, and Superman becomes so Superman that he like slowly detaches from humanity
Right.
because he becomes this like all-seeing god.
Hey, do you
character.
think that Superman in these films is ever going to get his Fortress of Solitude?
Think he already has it, doesn't he?
Does he?
We haven't seen it, but I'm like, yeah, he does. It's the ship
does.
it's the Kryptonian ship
He
in
does
the
have it,
Antarctic. It's
Does
just
that
bad.
count?
He just
Yeah.
never goes.
Yeah, it's just not good. That's all.
Yeah, but it's not like a fortress. It's just
It's-
a fucking ship that's...
At
He
one
doesn't
point,
go
at
there,
one
yeah.
point, they'll
Down.
do the ice crystal
Yeah.
thing, but for now, it's just the crashed ship.
I
It's a
reckon they
bit
will.
shit.
Like it's like if he keeps going back to that bloody fucking
Also, Russ-
farmhouse, someone's gonna see
Yeah.
him.
Also, Russell Crowe needs a paycheck, so he'll jump back in and he'll be, Clark's dad, and he'll be like, "Yes, son, you must build a fortress of solitude. Take these crystals." And then he'll do another bad
I'm
American
Russell
accent.
Crowe. Goodbye.
Hello, I'm Russell Crowe. I smoke cigarettes and ride on bicycles at the same time in Sydney. No, but yeah, that's a good point though. Is I think what they're tending to is, but it's complicated, right? Because this world is weirdly old without being old at all. Like Batman's been around for 20 years.
Oh, everybody knows all of these characters so well. I think that's kind of what makes Marvel, like... Because no one gives a shit about a lot of the smaller Marvel, like, franchises.
Right.
Where, like, when Guardians came out, a big section of the population is like, I have no fucking clue
Yeah.
who these people
Four
are.
nerds were like, Star-Lord's my favorite. Gamora's the best.
Yeah.
No one
And-
else knew who they were.
Yeah. And because they got introduced through the movies, it was, like, surprising to people. And people were like, okay, these characters are actually really cool. And they don't have this comic book legacy to live up to either.
Oh, you're so right though, because that's the big difference between like DC and Marvel. Marvel has like really cool something for everyone. DC has like the big power players. They've got Shazam. They've got Green. They have these characters that like
Shazam's not that
That's
big.
well, no, but like Green Lantern. Like
They've
you
got Superman
Fucking
And
Wonder
Batman.
Woman.
well, Superman, Batman, Wonder
and
Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Those are like the trio.
those are
Those are
that's,
the golden
that's
trio,
those,
like
yeah,
the
that's-
Harry, Ron, Hermione.
yeah.
Yeah, and they are like the like those are like them and Spider Man are like the
Who's-
four topmost
who's Harry
selling
and who's
characters.
Ron?
Harry is Superman, maybe? Yeah.
What does that make Batman?
He's-
No,
Batman's not
dog. No, hang on. Batman's Hermione. Wonder Woman's Harry, and Superman's Ron. That makes sense?
Wonder Woman is
Ron.
Ron. What? Then who's
No,
Superman?
sorry.
Wait,
Wonder Woman.
what?
Wonder Woman's Harry Potter.
Okay.
She's the cool jock.
Yeah.
Batman is Hermione, the
The
nerdy,
smart one.
uncool person.
Okay.
And then
Superman's
Ron, because like means
I feel
well,
like
means
Super-
well, but is a dumb as a
I
brick.
feel like Superman is Neville,
Gets hot later.
and like secretly the main character.
Yeah, no, because Superman's always no. Well, that would be Batman, because Superman's
Bat-
always the main character in the
Right.
comics.
So Batman is Neville.
But he's
Yeah,
not, because he's
Batman's
not
not
a
Neville.
douche nerdy kid.
Yeah.
That's a tough.
Anyway.
That's a
The
tough
thing is,
analogy.
Superman is sometimes really like smart though, depending on.
Depends on how you write him. That's one of the biggest
Let's
gripes.
not make comparisons to Harry Potter. This isn't going
it's
anywhere.
it's too late to dig ourselves out of this
Yeah.
hole. But what I was gonna say was, I guess from like a character perspective, they did a very succinct, quick job of setting up these characters, giving them quick archetypes that we could relate to. Ezra Miller is the nerdy, bumbling sidekick. You know, Batman is like the sort of leader in absentee of the actual leader. who's
Cyborg
kind of-
is.
Cyborg's the guy who's doesn't know, he's so maturing into his powers, doesn't know what
Yeah.
they are. Wonder Woman is the confident but kind of secretive hero that you can't quite find the inspiration to step up.
Aquaman
And-
is Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, Aquaman's the Captain. He's like the drunk,
He's the comic relief.
What's the expression, like the hero that's like does it because they have to, like it's like the resigned
Right.
hero.
Yeah, I
you
don't
know.
even know. I sort of like he just kind of decides to join them because he doesn't need to go there.
He's got to save the world because
He's
Steppenwolf's
like,
got the
oh,
box.
they asked me to save the world, and now in Atlantis they're asking me.
Yeah,
to
he's
save
like,
the
shit,
world
now
as
I'm here,
well."
I guess.
He's like, well, I guess I'll save the world. It's
Right.
like,
He's the reluctant hero. The word I was looking for was reluctant. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember it. And so by doing that, you don't need 10 films. You go, I get these characters immediately.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest flaw of BVS and the biggest flaw of Man of Steel is they didn't give us a starting point. Because when you're developing a character, you go, this is the archetype. Because that's, okay, I've talked about this before, but that's how you meet people, right? You meet someone and you go, oh, they're a dumb jock.
Yeah.
And you get to know them and you're like, actually, they're kind of sensitive and they're not that smart, but they're really caring, right? And you go, okay, well, this is like our paragon of hope and justice. This is Superman. You get to know him and you're like, actually, he's kind of complex. He's got these farm boy roots. You know, he struggles with, should I spend time at home or always save people? Like, there's complexity there. This is Batman. He's like the dark, brooding, anti-hero. And you get to know him and you're like, actually, he has this core belief of heroism and he's trying to do the right thing, but he's corrupted in these ways. And that's the way you tell really good stories is you develop your understanding of characters through what they do based on the starting point. And one of the, BVS didn't have a starting point. It was just like,
It's a Batman and Superman. Biff, baff, boof.
It's like,
They're mad at
with
each
these
other.
characters, we're gonna get them to fight
Lex
each other in
Luthor.
the
Yeah.
most convoluted way fucking possible.
And in 2 minutes per character in this film, they set up the characters really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't they just do that in the previous one?
You know, if
'cause-
they wanted Batman and Superman to fight, there were goddamn.
They should have done it in this film.
Well, yeah, yes. What the fuck, though?
we didn't really get
No,
much
like,
of a
seriously,
BVS
what the
in this
fuck?
film. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it's so. Because the thing is, a lot of these things, because DC has this big, animated movie thing,
Mhm.
animated TV thing that's really good. They have a lot of really good material there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time you'll watch some of these films and you'll go, the animated one was better.
It is interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Because, with BVS, not to.
No,
we're
go for
kind
it.
of off topic here, but the animated one where Batman and Superman fight, it's excellent. Because basically what's happened in that one is it's an older Batman and superheroes have been outlawed and then Batman decides to come back. And Superman, because he retired willingly and he's in the employ of the government.
Yeah, Reagan convinces him to go after Batman.
Right, to
Yep.
get
Bloody
him to
Reagan.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tisk tisk.
And then Batman has this, incredibly elaborate plan to take him down, and it fucking works.
It's
Very good.
so good.
Green Arrow shoots a bow and arrow with his feet. It's amazing. The whole comic's fucking phenomenal. Dude, but Dark Knight Returns is so good, and you can see,
They fucked it up so
well,
much,
but
though.
you can see why they went. Oh, it's the imagery that makes it good.
But
you
it's
can, you
not.
can no, but that's because Zack Snyder directed it, and Zack Snyder is a visual person.
Right.
It's not his fault. It's just what he
It's imagery to the detriment of everything
Yeah.
else.
What if you could have a film that was only imagery and there was no substance and it was just imagery? That's 300. That's Zack Snyder.
Right.
That's his magnum opus film. It's literally what is the most pornographic, beautiful shot we can make with no substance. That's what he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And I think 300 doesn't really need a lot more than that.
Because he designed it from the ground up to be
Right.
that. But when you take
But-
superheroes,
Yeah,
it doesn't
you
necessarily
can't
work
make
that way.
Superheroes fit that mold.
Correct. So what I guess the takeaway from that when you put that onto
We've lost the side
Justice
camera.
League. Huh? That's fine. We're nearly done anyway. Laura's going to be invisible for half a minute.
Yep.
That's all right.
But yeah, what that tells you is that from a storytelling, ongoing narrative perspective, this world they're building, these characters, they've somehow, surprisingly, impressively, found a foundation that makes sense, that is cohesive, that you can quickly jump onto and understand. And that is not just impressive, it's amazing considering BVS. And this film was so middling that it almost put me to sleep, but
This film was so average, but it was a good average.
I'm nonetheless impressed that it was a good average. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more of these
mean,
characters.
Even average is an improvement from BVS.
Correct.
So.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's always a good place to end. Ben, any recommendations for this week? Make them quick because it's late.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Super Mario Odyssey. What was the
Yeah.
album that we talked about earlier this week? That came out. It's not Joji. What's the other guy?
Joji?
Joji? Was it Joji's?
Yeah, Joji came out.
It's really good.
Joji in tongues.
Yeah.
I think I talked about that last week.
you weren't here last week.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Super Mario Odyssey's out.
Yep.
I've mentioned Assassin's Creed Origins the last 2 weeks because it's really good. Laura, any recommendations?
Okay.
Things
well,
you've been watching or listening to? or
I've been
reading?
listening to it's a really good song, but it's kind of dumb. It's called Sheep by an artist called Lay.
Okay.
That's Lay. David's gonna hate me for suggesting
K-pop.
this.
I don't have to
Um,
listen to it.
No.
Yeah.
It's fine. That's fine. No, that's good.
It's really good though.
I guess Baccano as well. We
We did
finished
watch
Baccano.
that.
What's that
I
one?
watched it
It's a
ages ago.
very, very good anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
interesting.
it's very Tarantino.
Yeah, it's told out
It's a
of order.
non-linear.
It's about
It's about gangsters.
gangsters.
Interesting.
Immortal gangsters.
Immortal gangsters.
And I'm out.
There it goes.
And I'm out. There it is. There's the little
You were in and then you were out.
You found it, Ben. You found a little nog. But as always, Ben, do the thing. Tell them what the thing
Facebook.
is. Where DCM Works Social.
YouTube,
YouTube.com/DCMWorks.
Twitter,
At DCM_Works.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCMWorks. On that note, the t-shirt instructions go up next week. I had to finalize with the distributors, but they go up next week. So if you are a $6 plus patron, expect yourself in the mail. Well, expect in your inbox the instructions for how to get your shirt sent to you. So, and what to do and all that stuff. So look out for that in a week and a half. Is that it? Is that all the places?
That's all the ones.
It's every single place.
Yeah.
As always, I'm at DCM Hey Pie.
I'm at Little Citrus.
I'm at Laura Ducky B, and
Let's
I'm
see it.
still here. This
She's
is-
got the sword.
That's
Yeah.
Laura's sword.
It's the sword, and we'll see you guys next week.
I'm gonna.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an
Yeah.
outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is.
because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There is a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.